Hey there, guys. Happy New Year and welcome to 2026 on the Sportologist podcast with me, Harry Cricket 3. Now, yes, we are 11 days into the new year, I believe. So sorry for the delay on this, but I have been quite unwell in the past week. But I have wanted to make this podcast episode to kind of highlight what I'm going to be covering this year and what's going to be happening in the world of sports in general. I've got a few notes in front of me, but I want to really showcase to you guys what I'm trying to grow this brand into. I really want to get guests on specifically to each sport and talk to them about Formula One, tennis, golf, whatever it is, and learn more about the sport in a way that informs you as a listener, as well as me as an actual interviewer itself. I think this could really grow, and I think this year is a perfect opportunity for that because we've got so many good sporting events this year. It is a World Cup year, of course, as many football fans know. But as well as that, we've got some events that happen generically every single year, but also some events which we have to wait for every 2 years, every 4 years. They are here this year as well. So I'm really excited. And I thought, what better way than to just kind of go through things in a chronological order. Let's have a look at the season in general and what we have to look forward to. So without further ado, let's not waste any time here. Let's get into the first real event of the year, which is starting today, actually, which is in the snooker world, and it's the Masters. The Masters will be coming back for another year. It's the second of the Triple Crown events. So if you don't know what Triple Crown is, there's the World Championship, the Masters and the UK Championship. Now, the UK Championship, that finished in December. Mark Selby won it, and he is one of the big favourites to win the Masters in January as well. It is only a one-week event, and I'm sure snooker fans are probably thinking, why am I explaining this? But this podcast is meant for people who are into sport in general, and I really think that if you never watched snooker before and you think snooker's boring, it can be boring, yes, sure. It's a slow sport to watch, and the fans are quiet. It's just literally watching two guys hit a ball around a big table. But if you want to watch high-level snooker, check out the Masters for certain. It's the best 16 players in the world, and it's seeded. It's very, very high quality. Now, the big news around the Masters is Ronnie O'Sullivan has pulled out again for the second year in a row due to medical reasons. Now, I'm not sure whether it's medical reasons or whether he's feeling pressure or stress or whatnot. A lot of people do consider him as the greatest player of all time in snooker, and for him to slowly be coming to an end his career, possibly people would say, you know what, Ronnie, you deserve it. You've been such a legend to the sport. Go take a break and let new players come into the scene. But snooker's a sport that age doesn't really matter. You can be as good as you can when you're 50, 60, I think. It's always a high-level sport. And it's a really fun sport to play. So it's not like pool. Pool, I'm sure everyone listening to this has played pool, where you're just literally potting a ball into the thing. Next one, stripe, black, finish. This is a lot harder. This is, you've got to get the red, then a color, then a red, then a color, then a red. You've got to control your cue ball like crazy. And that's the hardest part. Anyone could pot a ball, but controlling the cue ball requires a lot of practice, a lot of cue work with the chalk and everything. It's really, really high quality. But the Masters will start today, and it does look really good. It's 52nd edition of the Masters. And for the first time ever, we have 5 Chinese players in the 16 that are playing in the Masters. We've had, I think, in the past 3 or 4, but this is the first time it's ever reached 5. And it's a really good influence that I think Ding Junhui has had on the sport to grow it in China that much, because of how big of a name he became in snooker, in the UK. Chinese players have taken to him really well. They come to the UK and they're winning the tournaments. They're really, really good. Snooker requires a lot of mathematics, and China and India and these kind of countries are top-notch at mathematics. So these players, unbelievable. And yeah, it's a really good, and I might even make a podcast on that, actually. I'll research it. Why has China got such an influence on snooker now, and where has this come from? We'll have a look at that into more depth very later. But in terms of favourites for the tournament, Judd Trump comes in as the bookie's favourite. He won it in 2019 and in 2023, so he's got recent success in the Masters, but he did not win a single tournament last year, and I think that kind of plays on his mind a little bit. Mark Selby, second favourite. He did just win the UK Championship, as I said. He has won this Masters, I think, in 2008, 2010, and 2013. So it's been quite a while now since he's won the Masters, but he's won everything so many times. He's one of the best players of the snooker in the last 25 years for certain. As I said, China, third favourite to win this tournament is Zhao Shintong of China. And fourth favourite is Neil Robertson of Australia, who last won it in 2022. So he's also got recent success as well. I personally think, if I was to put my money on it, it would be Mark Selby. I think his draw looks quite decent. He's just won the UK Championship. Judd Trump, even though he's the bookie's favourite, he's kind of got that little mental thing going on in his mind that he hasn't won anything, whereas Mark Selby has just got that form coming into this at the perfect time. And I think he will win the Masters this year. So definitely check that out. If you're into snooker, or if you want to get into snooker, the Masters is the first event of the year. But another big thing in January is the Australian Open in tennis. And I love the Australian Open every year. It's definitely one of my favorite events in terms of all sports. Out of the four Grand Slams in tennis, I would say it's my second favorite after Wimbledon, just because Wimbledon's broadcasted really well here in the UK. The Australian Open can be difficult to try and find streams to watch and stuff, but the final is always high quality. And I genuinely love playing on hardcore myself. So on that basis, Australian Open to kick off the calendar year, it's a really good way. And right now, the players are in Australia. They were doing some, I think it's the Davis Cup. They were doing the European to country tournament. But now the players will be definitely in Australian Open mode because that begins tomorrow on Monday. And as always, the current favourites to win on the men's edition are Yannick Sinner and Carlos Alcaraz. Them two have destroyed tennis in the last few years. They are winning every single Grand Slam. And it's not a surprise, Yannick Sinner is predicted to retain his trophy again. Last year, he won it quite well. The year before that was the kind of tricky one he had. But I think there's a really good chance he wins it again. As well as them, Djokovic comes in as third favourite, Zverev as fourth, and we have Daniil Medvedev as fifth. And to be honest, if I was to predict anyone to win it, it would be definitely Yannick Sinner. But if I want anyone to win it, it would be Medvedev. I mean, he's reached so many finals and lost them all. I think he deserves a trophy. And I think he deserves specifically the Australian Open. So on that basis, Medvedev, come on, you could do it, man. On the female side of things, though, top five favourites for this is Sabalenka, Swiatek, Rybakina, Coco Gauff, and Amanda Anisimova. Big news there is Madison Keys, who currently retains the trophy, is only the eighth favourite to win the trophy. And I think that's a real kind of sign that in female tennis, it's such a close kind of community. The level between the best player and the 10th best player is really not that different. Whereas in men's tennis, as far as I've always been watching in my lifetime, it's always been a key 3-4 players. Then if you're number 5, 6, 7, 8, even though you're only one behind them, you need to do a hell of a lot to beat number 1, 2, 3. Whereas in female tennis, it's never like that. It's a lot more close connected. The level is a lot more watchable. And honestly, if you look at any sport in the world, you could say female tennis is probably the one where we get different winners every year, where we get really high level of competitiveness. But it's good. The best player, she might get to the final next year, but she might lose it because, I don't know, something happens in her mind, she gets angry, whatever. It's really, really watchable. And I've always said, without trying to be sexist here, out of all the sport in the world, on a female demographic, I'd say, if you look at the biggest three where female sport is really high, female cricket's quite good, female tennis is quite good, and female football is quite good right now. But I would always say, out of those three, female tennis is the best to watch in terms of how similar it is to the male level of pace and speed and all that stuff. It is definitely the best. Women cover the court really well. They just serve a tiny bit slower and a tiny bit, they smash a tiny bit less weak. That's all. It's fine. Okay, it's genuinely fine. It's really, really watchable, and I think people definitely don't respect that enough. So on that basis, I think Sabalenka will win, even though she got really angry in a few tournaments last year. I mean, the whole thing with, I think she was in the final last year. I think she was the one who lost to Madison Keys. But I think Sabalenka has it in her to win this because she comes into this in really good form. She looks on fire. All she needs to do is stay calm in the right moments. Don't need to throw your racket around or, be angry. If you're losing a point, just find out some psychological thing where you look up in the sky and then suddenly you're calm. And then hopefully you can keep that calmness throughout and you can win yourself another Grand Slam because she is probably the best hardcore player out of the list of girls I just listed. I think she's amazing, and I think she's going to win the Australian Open this year. But that's pretty much January done. We move on to February now. What is happening in February? Quite a lot of stuff, actually. First of all, the Winter Olympics start in Milan, the Milano Cortina, I think it's called. I'm not a Winter Olympian fan, or I don't play any Winter Olympic sports myself. I've never even done things like curling, even though I've always wanted to. But curling is something that's watchable, I think. The other stuff, if you're into skiing, stuff like that, definitely go check that out. But Super Bowl is always on in February. And yes, I'm not a American football fan. I'll say Formula One for a second there. I'm not an American football fan at all. But I do want to learn about it a little bit more and why the Super Bowl is so highly watched in the world. People always big it up, but sorry, American football fans, football this year I think is going to beat you by a country mile in your country because the World Cup is there in America. But the sport that I'm going to be watching is my cricketing love. It's the T20 World Cup held in my home nation, India, and Sri Lanka. There's a lot of drama around this right now, actually, because Indians have recently had a bit of politic debate with Bangladeshis. And because of that, we decided to kick out a Bangladeshi player in the IPL that's going to be happening in March. And because of that, the Bangladesh Cricket Council have basically said, listen, we don't feel safe playing in India. Please, ICC, can we have our matches somewhere else, ideally in the Sri Lanka? So then suddenly India saying, no, well, we can't do that. We're hosting it. You're making us travel more here. This is all hassle. It's turning into a bit of unnecessary political mess, I'd say. India have kind of messed this up a little bit with the kicking out of Mustafizur Rahman, I would say. I don't think there was need to do it, but we have done it. Now it's just become a whole mess, really. But I'm intrigued to see the tournament itself. T20 World Cup happened very recently. I actually missed the final last time. I was flying to India, and I got told by the pilot himself that India have won the World Cup for the first time. Every final that I seem to watch India in, we never seem to win. But the two finals I never got to watch was obviously the T20 World Cup in 2024 and then the Champions Trophy last year. India won both trophies. So maybe it's just bad luck for me. But India are the bookies' favourite to win, followed by Australia, South Africa, and England. Last time it was held in India, the T20 World Cup, it was absolutely amazing. I mean, if you've never watched cricket final before, the two finals that are best to watch, obviously the 2019 World Cup, which England beat New Zealand in a controversial fashion, and then the 2016 World Cup, which India lost to the semi-finals to West Indies, but West Indies with a hell of a comeback in the final against England to beat them with 4 sixes in the last 4 balls to win the tournament. It's just amazing. It was a perfect storyline, I think. And Carlos Brathwaite, remember the name, will always be a famous storyline in cricket because of that World Cup. And yeah, it was absolutely incredible. But unfortunately, West Indies aren't even in the reckoning to win it this year. No one really expects them to. I think India will win, even though this is obviously happening in February. India have the bookies' favourites. India have the home advantage. If we don't win, it's just disappointing, to be honest. If India do not win, I would probably go with Australia. I'd probably go with South Africa, I think. I think South Africa are coming to T20 cricket really well in the last few years. And they deserve another trophy. They finally got a trophy under their belt last year with the World Test Championship. But can they do it again with the T20 World Cup? Keep your eyes peeled for that in February. Then we move on to March, which has the Paralympic Winter Games as well as the IPL. And like I said, the IPL every year happens, a big thing. With the whole Bangladesh thing that's happening right now, it could turn into more politics and cricket, which we don't really want because it brings a lot of money into cricket. People like watching it. Let's just enjoy the IPL for what it is. The one thing I do really wish, by the way, for IPL is we need better coverage in the UK because all we do is really just broadcast it on Sky Sports and we don't have a show for it or anything, whereas we used to. Back when I was watching it, we used to have it on ITV, an actual show where they would talk about the game and everything. It's such a big event that you get so much viewers. Make it into a show. Don't just broadcast the match and then don't have anything. There's no need for that. Let's actually put some money into it. But yeah, the IPL will be happening in March. April, we move on to the Augusta Masters, which Rory McIlroy won last year. I'm not a golf fan myself, so I'd really like to know from you guys who is going to win the big tournaments in golf this year. And the F1 season starts in Australia as well. So that will be interesting for all you Formula One lovers with no more DRS in this new calendar year, as well as some new teams, I think, coming in as well, which I just read about yesterday. So I'm going to be covering an F1 a lot this year with some friends of mine through kind of debate-style podcasts, which I hope you guys enjoy. But that's it in April. Then we move on to one of the biggest sporting events of the year, the Champions League final in May. The French Open also starts in May, but that's more latter May, so we're not going to really count that. But Champions League this year, I'm really intrigued to see who wins, because last year, PSG got their first ever trophy in. Arsenal currently probably the favourites, even though they never won it either. Can they get their first trophy in? I would say, in terms of defensive unit, they are the best defensive unit in the world. There's no debating that. But in terms of European experience and pedigree, I think even Liverpool have shown that we can be quite good this year, even though we've been rubbish in the league. Our win against Real Madrid and against Atleti and against Inter Milan kind of showed that we still have that. Yes, we lost to PSV in quite embarrassing fashion, but we still have some pedigree about us. Barcelona, people fancied them a lot before the tournament started. Can they do it? Possibly. I said Real Madrid at the start of the season to my friends on my main channel when we did an On The Spot episode, which I'm going to be bringing back, by the way. I think Real Madrid could still do it, and I think it'll be a huge storyline if Xabi Alonso turns it around and wins it with this Real Madrid squad after he's been called for sacking so many times. But I'm really intrigued to see who wins the Champions League in May. Um, June. I cannot wait for June because it is the FIFA World Cup here. The World Cup is what got me into football in the first place. The 2010 World Cup, I watched it on TV. Brilliant kind of music around it, brilliant kind of vibe around the whole World Cup. I was really young at the time. I never really understood football. For me, football was always a case of whoever scores is the best. So I always had Ronaldo, Messi as the best players in the world. I never knew who the beauty of the Spanish team actually was. If I watched the Spanish team now, I think I would appreciate it a lot more. But unfortunately, I never could really because I was such a young boy growing up, and I thought, oh, why is everyone hyping up Xavi, Iniesta, Busquets? Well, I understand Iniesta because he won it, but Xavi, Busquets, like, what are they doing? They're just getting the ball, passing it. But now I understand after playing football for so many years that, oh, okay, this is actually quite a hard thing to do at a high level to keep it moving constantly. And yeah, it was a really good World Cup to watch. And if you're not into football yet, or if you've got a young child or whatever, World Cups are always a thing that, in my opinion, can get them into football the best. The whole vibe, the fact that you're supporting a country, the whole country's together in the whole time. And yeah, it'll be really good. I'm definitely going to do a World Cup prediction video this year. I'm really intrigued to see who wins because I don't think there's a clear favourite. I think it's very close between England, Spain, France, and possibly a dark horse like Portugal or the Netherlands. I think have a really good shot at this as well. And I know that's a bit surprising, but I genuinely think there's going to be some sort of scenario where that happens. I cannot wait for the World Cup. That's going to be in June, July time. Obviously, in July, we have Wimbledon. And Wimbledon is, in my opinion, the best Grand Slam of the year, as I said. Carlos Alcaraz will be hoping to come back and win it this year after Yannick Sinner stole it from him last year, which is a really good final. But Alcaraz, I think, will probably be the favourite for that again. So we'll come to that when July arrives. Then we move into August, which is normally the start of the Premier League season, but I'm not sure if it's going to get delayed because of the World Cup a little bit, so possibly it might by a few weeks. But the US Open also starts in August, which has another tennis Grand Slam, the final one of the year for tennis fans, before we just move into the simple tournaments. But the Premier League season would have started by then. So I'm talking very much in the future. We're only in January right now, but who's going to win this year? Who's going to be the big horse in the whole race when we start next year after all the signings happen? It'll be really intriguing to see. And then from September to November and December, it's usually just a mixture of sports that have already got into the season that we started and we are fully underway in. And December, near the end of the year, every single year, people are now watching the darts because of Luke Littler. So that will be exciting to see as well. But I'm really excited for this year, guys. I think 2026, the fact that we've got the T20 World Cup, we've got the FIFA World Cup, we've got the Commonwealth Games as well, which I've actually missed in Glasgow. That's going to be happening in July. A mixture of things. We've got Winter Olympics if you're into snowy things, as well as the normal events such as Grand Slams, the Formula One season, the Champions League stuff, everything. It's going to be a big year in sport. It's not going to be a single month where we're bored, I guess. And I really, really can't wait. I'd say the World Cup is the thing I'm looking forward to the most, definitely, just because it only happens once every 4 years. And the last final, we all remember how memorable that was. France against Argentina. I can't wait. But thank you guys for listening. What sports events are you looking forward to most this year? Leave your top 3 in the comments down below. Leave a like if you're new around here. Subscribe to all my other social media platforms as well. I'm on Instagram, Spotify, X, as well as YouTube. Thank you guys for listening / watching this podcast today. And I will see you guys all later.